What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon GO Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look not at Kyurem, but at a Pokemon that was recently buffed and has a lot of play now in the Master League. That is going to be Florges with Trailblaze. This thing now fills a very unique role of being not only anti-dragon, but also has a very strong matchup into Rhyperior as well, as Trailblaze is going to be double super effective into that rock ground typing. When you're building around something like Florges, which has absolutely no coverage into steals or Ho-Oh, you want to be able to back it up with a couple of strong anti-Ho-Oh, anti-steals. So we got a bit of both here. Rhyperior and Palkia being both extremely strong answers to Ho-Oh, while Rhyperior is our safe switch here, as it is typically going to be more dynamic and able to flip matchups more often than Palkia would, especially with all the Dialgas running around. It really just helps this team to have a pivot like that. So we're going to be using Palkia as our closer here, or a counter swap into something like a Ho-Oh, or if someone brings in a Kyurem, because that's what Palkia is really good at doing in this meta currently, is being able to lock down those Kyurems. So let's get into these games here and check out Palkia, Rhyperior, and Florges with Trailblaze here in the Master League. This team worked very well. I went to the tune of 7-3 with it in the 2 sets that I played. I was just itching to get back to my Kyurem team. I would have tried more sets, but I just wanted to keep going with Kyurem. So in this first game, we get a matchup into a Zacian, and they're going to be going for probably nukes here. I'm going to go ahead and just build up to almost what I would expect to be 2 moves and then throw. The opponent goes for the wild charge here. I'm expecting him to go back to back. So I'm going to swap in my Rhyperior here and look to absorb this energy, hopefully. The opponent did go for the wild charge, and they're going to now bring in their own Rhyperior. So what I'm going to look to do here is I'm going to look to go for a Rock Wrecker potentially, but the opponent throwing right away, I'm like, all right, it's probably a Rock Wrecker, or it's a Surf. The opponent runs Surf. That's fine. So I'm going to come back in with my Florges here. Things are already kind of looking a little dire, but I can get the 2 Trailblazes before they should be able to get to another move, hopefully. So Trailblaze will knock out the opponent's Rhyperior, and they're going to come straight in with Kyurem and look to try and get a farm, but it's going to be at the expense of a shield, because I do have a Moonblast. I'm going to full send it, and knowing now that the opponent's entire team is going to have Zacian with energy that has no energy and a Kyurem, I'm very happy to come in with Palkia here, as I know that I can either get the shield here or KO the Zacian and have 2 shields to farm down Kyurem. That's a good game, well played to the opponent. Alternative win condition there. They shield the Aqua Tail. I actually use 2 shields to try and farm down and get to a Spatial Rend. Opponent's going to swap into Landorus, and I was extremely slow to swap here. I genuinely just, I'm like, why are people safe swapping Landorus in a Kyurem meta? I then bring in my Palkia. I should have brought in Palkia much, much quicker. But the problem is that if I have to counter swap my Palkia, I basically always end up being behind, and they're able to get to Sandsears before I can get to Aqua Tails, and they can kind of control the matchup. So it's not as good for me in that regard, but going for the Sandsear, I knew the opponent wasn't at a Stone Edge, otherwise I would have shielded and farmed down. But we are going to be able to hopefully get to a Spatial Rend before the opponent can farm us down, and we're not, unfortunate. We're going to come back in with the Florges here and look to try to continue this game. Opponent can only ever go for an Aqua Tail here, and once again, I am just hoping that whatever's in the back might also not have a great time against Rhyperior, and they have their own Rhyperior. So I'm going to go for the Trailblaze here, and I can go for another Trailblaze before the opponent can get to a Rock Wrecker, and I probably should have. I was hoping that this HP difference here would allow me to be able to take this thing out, but we are going to be able to get to 2 moves. I should just go for the Breaking Swipe, because at least that puts it in a range where Florges can knock out, but I was really hoping they wouldn't shield this, and unfortunately for me, now this is awkward, because I'm going to have to take Breaking Swipes in order to knock this thing out. I'm basically going to go for a farm down of this Rhyperior and hope that we can make it happen, or if not, get to a Trailblaze and get close enough. These Mud Slaps are adding up. I'm forced to shield what I already know is Breaking Swipes, and so the opponent now comes in with their Palkia. We're going to go for the Moonblast. Is this enough after we get those debuffs? Palkia looking to get taken out by the Moonblast, but it stays alive, and I'm not able to farm down. The opponent's going to be able to take that one thanks to the Breaking Swipe debuffs. I definitely could have played that cleaner, but Florges was in a prime position to core break there, so well played. If you play better than I do, you're fine. Now, not so great. Landorus in the lead, and I kind of realized this team does not have a really good pivot against Landorus, so I'm expecting him to go for the Sandsear Storm. That's fine. At this point, I think my play here is just to do what I can with the Florges, and honestly, whenever I don't see Kyurem in the lead, I just expect it to be in the back. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of going for the Moonblast, I'm going to actually go for the double Trailblaze, because I know I'm not going to be able to get to a Trailblaze plus a Moonblast, which would be nice, but we are going to be able to get 2 moves in here, and hopefully that'll be low enough for Palkia to be able to farm down if the opponent decides to go for a Sansir Storm, which they do, but they over-farm, so it's going to make it a little bit more awkward. Palkia is going to have to take energy in order to get rid of this thing, so we're going to go ahead and come in with it. Palkia is looking for that farm down and actually gets it. The opponent was a few away, and now they're going to have a Florges come in of their own. And this is the exact opposite situation of where I want to be right now. I'm just saying, like, I am just like, really? Now they have the perfect Pokemon to core break my team, and I have a Shadow Rhyperior, which you'll see a little later in the video exactly how much this does. I actually call that Moonblast, and I was saying, all right, you know what? I'm just going to go for the farm down with Rhyperior, but the opponent actually baits with Disarming Voice, and that means I'm going to be able to get a shield, and then I'm going to swap in my Rhyperior, but I haven't seen their other move yet. I'm not going to assume that they're running Moonblast. I'm going to go ahead and shield a potential Trailblaze, and it is the Trailblaze, so we are going to be able to shield that up and thankfully not take all that damage, but I got to do it again because I have to. I have no chance otherwise. And now the opponent has Dialga in the back. I need to be mindful of the fact that they could get to an Iron Head and end this game right here. So I need to be able to throw this energy. I'm hoping that the opponent shields, but they do not, unfortunately. That is probably going to be the game-losing play. I should have gone for the Rock Wrecker. Now I'm going to try and see if I can't get a catch, and the opponent holds on to their energy, and I am unable to get to any of these moves here. Opponent has the Iron Head. They're just going to be able to take us out here. It was kind of a tough game in the first place just because of the fact that we had Florges on that Lando and had to kind of get rid of it, but well played. Next game up, Florges on the lead versus Zygarde. This is a great lead here. Opponent likely to pivot out, and they do into Necrozma Duskmane, and I'm going to counter swap my Rhyperior here, and I'm not sure I like the way that I played this, but the thing is that you never know these things until the hindsight kicks in, and so opponent's got a Zygarde lead. I'm actually going to go for a farm down, but unfortunately the opponent does get to a move, and I'm like, I can't risk this being Iron Head. It's another Dark Pulse. I could have let that go and saved a shield. And now I kind of feel foolish. I'm not going to lie. That just kind of like, man, I lost count in the middle of that matchup. And I'm thinking, oh, if this is the move, I don't want to let this. I mean, I should have. Let's be honest. Because in hindsight, yeah, Palkia could have done something here. But I don't know what's in the back. And I can't assume it's anything else but a Kyurem, and that's why I figured I want the alignment here, because Palkia is going to be able to handle a Kyurem potentially. Just not down 0 shields, though. I'll get nuked by a Kyurem without a shield, but opponent's going for that move with the Zygarde, but none of these moves after this many debuffs is going to be enough here, and we're going to go for the Breaking Swipe to either get a shield from the Zygarde or take it out completely. Opponent does let it go, and I'm looking to pivot, but I am not quite there. But I want you to keep in mind that I was on my 3 cycle for Breaking Swipe, so I'm formulating a plot here as to how I win this game. Opponent has a Ho-Oh in the back. This is best possible opportunity for me to have a chance to win this game. My opponent is going to be able to get us off, get off a Sacred Fire here. I basically was like, Brave Bird me if you want. Now, I'm going to be able to get both Aqua Tails off. This should get both shields. Now my main objective here is to get the Ho-Oh low enough for me to hit it with a Moonblast. It is going to have to go for a Brave Bird here. You cannot go for Sacred Fire. But Rhyperior is 2 away. So what I should be able to do is come in with my Rhyperior, go for 1 Mud Slap, and then swap into my Florges. And the Ho-Oh can never hold 2 moves. And so I should have been able to go into the Florges afterwards, do whatever I'm going to do, force him to throw energy, and then Rhyperior can come back in and go for 1 Mud Slap and go for the Breaking Swipe. However, Niantic decided, not today, Felrose, no sir, you're going to get 1 turn lag, and the Incinerate is going to register on that exact move. So now I feel like I'm just going to lose, and I'm kind of pissed about it, not going to lie. But a miracle happens. Brave Bird is not enough to KO Florges despite the flying chicken in the sky doing immense amounts of damage. We are going to be able to KO with that Moonblast and take Ho-Oh down for the win, getting redemption for that 1 turn lag. Good game to the opponent. Next game up, Florges on the lead versus a Ho-Oh. Okay, what are you going to do, man? You got to go into the Rhyperior and just hope. Now, opponent brings in a Necrozma, Dawn Wings. This is an opportunity for me to flip this matchup, and I'm going to try to take it. We're going to go ahead and bait the first Breaking Swipe here, and the opponent shields. That's great. That's a great start here. I know they have not gone up to enough for the Moongeist, but I know that this thing could have Iron Head. I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to go ahead and shield. There is no Biscuit that is worth risking at all. Now we're going to go for the Rock Wrecker. I'm hoping that either the opponent doesn't shield or, I mean, either way, I think I can pace to the next Rock Wrecker, but they let it go and flip switch, and in the back is a Dialga, and I am currently having a great match. I'm going to go for the Rock Wrecker. I feel really good about this match because I know that I can put Palkia on that Ho-Oh. Opponent is going to end up taking that Rock Wrecker with the Dialga, and Florges can come in here and just be a meat shield. That's all it really is at this point, because I can just lock Palkia onto the Ho-Oh, get to 2 Aqua Tails, and we're pretty much going to take that matchup. But the opponent did have some residual energy, so they're going to be at their 4th. They're going to go for a charge move now. I never have to shield this because a Brave Bird from a non-Shadow Ho-Oh does not knock out. They're going to go for the Sacred Fire Bait. We retain our shield. No attack drop. We can easily now just go for 2 Aqua Tails and close out this game against the Ho-Oh. So that's going to be a good game. Well played to the opponent. I think that the biggest thing here was that we were able to flip switch, and there was an identification that I needed to. As soon as you see a really bad lead like this and you have 2 really strong responses in the back, that's a situation where a flipping switch is paramount, so it's always good to know that when you're going into a match. Next game up, we're going to have Florges on the lead versus Xerneas. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for the Moonblast first. We're not Trailblaze baiting because there's no way the opponent shields the first move. Xerneas has enough bulk to withstand a Moonblast without much issue here. So I'm going to go for the Moonblast and look to try and do some damage. And then after that, if it lands, I can go for Trailblazes. And I know I can live any one move here. I'm going to actually go ahead and just let this go. And then we're going to be looking to go for the Trailblazes on good timing here. 1, 2, 3, 4 Trailblaze. And the nice thing is that if the opponent farms up more energy, I can do that same exact timing again and go for another Trailblaze. The opponent, however, no shields, knowing that this is not enough for a Moonblast. And then we get some weird lag. I don't know what that was all about. But the opponent's going to go for a charge move. Moonblast will knock out. I realize I'm not getting the chance to take this out, so I'm going to go ahead and just let that go. I'm going to come in with a Rhyperior. Opponent immediately pivots into Kyurem Black. And I'm like, that's fine with me. I'm going to go ahead and shield this up just in case it is the freeze shock on that thing. And then I make a stupid move. Go ahead and I farm up and I CMP tie. I should just fully farm down. However, I knew that that was just an fusion bolt from the fact that they had thrown so little energy. So we're going to be able to get that off and get a little bit of farm here and see what the opponent's going to come in with. They have a very low HP Xerneas. I'm going to go for the Aqua Tail for some chip damage here. And I know from my matchup knowledge that Rhyperior can one-shield farm down a Dialga. And so basically I'm at the point where I feel like I can do that. However, I am going to be throwing my breaking swipes here because I do want a little bit of chip damage to help this matchup, as seeing as I'm very much expecting the opponent to try and make a swap to catch on the Xerneas at some point, and they do, and we're going to be able to take that game because I'm like, I could just shield and just wait. So good game. My win con was clear and I stuck to it. We see the target on the next game, Rhyperior. We're going to find out how much damage these Trailblazes do very momentarily, but against a Shadow Rhyperior, the chances of them letting this go are very small, so I'm expecting them to shield, but that's massive for me because I always outpace these Trailblazes, and every single time I actually boost up, they definitely get within range of being knocked out. Now, opponent's going to come in with a Heatran. I thought about coming in with my Rhyperior, but it felt like a bait-in for the Rhyperior. Plus, I saw the fire typing, and my brain immediately goes to click on my Palkia. For all I know, it could have been a Ho-Oh. Honestly, the steel typing didn't register in my brain right away. I'm going to be able to farm up as much as I can here before they get to another Stone Edge and throw the Aqua Tail. And I'm actually going to be forced to throw another Aqua Tail, which, I mean, honestly, it's fine. I'm really not worried about it here. The opponent, they're not going to get very much farm out of me here. And even if they do, fortunately, the Palkia was going to get to a Aqua Tail here. Now, the Rhyperior that I have in the back is going to do fine into theirs, and we are now in the position where Florges can core break this team. Let's see if the opponent was keeping track of energy and if they want to keep this Palkia around. They were not. They were off by 1, unfortunately. I do it all the time, so I don't blame them. But I can now let this go. I live this move. I'm going to store the energy on my Florges and swap out to Rhyperior. I can shield this Aqua Tail. Opponent is not looking good here. We should be able to get to a move or farm down. And I'm just going to opt for the farm down, hoping that they had just thrown all their energy. I was pretty sure that they had. Rhyperior is going to come back in, and I will go for the heavier hitting Rock Wrecker. That's the word. Rock Wrecker is the name, and we're going to be able to farm down after that lands, and that's going to be a good game to the opponent. It's late, I'm sleepy, and my brain is turning off. Rhyperior once again in the next game, so Let's see if the opponent respects the Trailblaze or not. We're going to go for 7 once again. I got a lot of practice. I saw like 3 Rhyperiors in a row here. So I got some good practice on how this matchup typically will go. Trailblaze is going to do that much damage to the opponent. So we can now rest assured that we know that a non-shadow can no-shield. So again, if you're in the opposite situation, right, and you're the Rhyperior in that particular matchup, if you're a non-shadow, you know you can live it. Now, I go over 100 energy by accident. That's actually going to be a very bad thing for me later. Sometimes I forget where the cap on energy is when I'm using the energy itself to figure it out, because I like to rely on the lines of the energy to kind of figure out where everything is. I don't do good with the numbers. Now, opponent here is going to have to go for a Fusion Flare here. They didn't get enough for the Ice Burn, unfortunately, but now the Palkia is loaded. They can come back in. They can come back in with the Rhyperior if they want, but it's immediately going to be met with Aqua Tails. An opponent goes for a Peekaboo play, trying to catch the Aqua Tail, but I know that I can always go for at least a couple Dragon Breaths there, and I don't have to throw right away. So now we can go for the Moonblast, and now I'm going to get redemption for losing to that Palkia earlier. Moonblast is going to knock out. Boom! Almost. It almost knocks out. That's crazy how that doesn't knock out. We can almost get to the Trailblaze, but Florges going down, unfortunately. However, the opponent, unless they have Surf, is not going to be able to take us out here. We're going to be able to go for a Mud Slap down and take the game win here. Well played to the opponent as they concede here. Next game up, trying to suppress my yawns. Rhyperior once again. Now, if the opponent shields the first Trailblaze, that is an extremely good thing, because if it's a non-shadow, they can live it, as we've seen. Now, some opponents will shield it because they're afraid of the double super effective damage, but that's even better because you outpace so handily with these Trailblazes that you can absolutely just outpace. Now, opponent goes for a Breaking Swipe. Unfortunately for me, I figured they're going to, but it's like you can't let the Rock Wreckers go through. But Trailblaze, now with a boost, is nearly going to be able to knock out. We're going to go ahead and swap into our Rhyperior to absorb the energy and go for the Mud Slap down. Rock Wrecker is taken, but it's not going to do a lot here. The opponent now comes in with their own Florges, and I'm kind of worried about this. They go straight for the Trailblaze immediately. And I'm just like, man, I have to shield here. The opponent still has a shield. I'm actually going to try to go for a Breaking Swipe, but the opponent swaps out into the Dragonite. I'm just going to go for the Rock Wrecker here. Boom! And we are going to knock out that snazzy Dragonite. Going to go for a Breaking Swipe bait here. This is a bad bait. I should not do this. I should just go for the Rock Wrecker. However, I'm feeling extremely bitter. And I'm going to be able to go for 2 Breaking Swipes. Now, this is not the Rock Wrecker, but if I can get another debuff, that's going to put this floor just so far behind that they're going to be forced to go for a Moonblast to take me out. And then with the debuffs that they have, Palkia should be able to get to an Aqua Tail or even farm down from here. I went for the Trailblaze because I just wanted to get the damage in. I didn't want to let them take me out, but Moonblast isn't even enough. And so the Fairy Winds are going to knock out simultaneously, and that's going to take the game for us. Well played. Final game of our second set here. Florges into a Dustmane Necrozma. Hard countered? Yes, sir. We're going to go ahead and go into the Rhyperior. Even though it is our hardest answer, I still prefer it as our safe switch. And opponent's got Kyurem White in the back. This is already a really bad situation. What I should do is I should go for the Rock Wrecker. Now, the opponent here shields, which is nice. I have had a couple of them no shield. I'm like, how could you possibly risk that? But we can go for the 2 Breaking Swipes. That's the safest play to go for here. Florges can farm down. I'm going to have to shield. I'm actually going to go ahead and let this go. I think I saw a debuff. Ice Burn is going to do a ton of damage. I'm going to try to see if I can get this farm down. Not quite so. Palkia is going to have to put the entire thing on its back and try to win with the shield advantage. Now, I'm expecting there to be a dragon of some type in the back, probably the opponent's own Palkia, so I've kind of already resigned myself to defeat. But we're going to see how this goes. You know, the opponent could have an Outrage. I'm really not going to risk taking the damage here. What I'm hoping is if they have Palkia, which is my best situation here if they do, if I can get a shield, I can hopefully land 1 Aqua Tail, farm down, get the shield here, and then maybe be able to farm up. But going for this Aqua Tail here is going to spell defeat for me if I do that, because opponent's not going to shield, and then they're just going to bring in their Palkia. So they did have the Palkia, and I realized in this time that like the game did not go in my favor. Opponent was very well aware of their win condition, and they took it. So we're going to take a 4-1 though and get up to another nice little boost of elo. I've since ran back that Kyurem white team that we posted yesterday, and it got me almost up to veteran. So the Kyurem white team is still incredibly strong. This Florges with Trailblaze, though, is a really good core breaker in the meta, especially if you start to see a bunch of people running Rhyperior, Palkia teams again. So overall, really, really strong team here. Florges really impressed me, and that's going to do it for me for today's video, guys. Thank you as always for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.